Hello, I'm Ken from Revolution Engine, and this is episode 149
of the Sit Down Podcast. Hi, I'm Glenn.
Have you heard about our new radio station? It's called Funky Moose Radio, where we play alternative and indie rock, sprinkle in some blues and Americana. We feature the music from our guests on this podcast at least once per hour. These songs can be in any genre. We're working on getting the station on every mobile app available, but the easiest way to listen is at funkymooseradio.ca. You should also become a VIP because we'll be giving away some prizes. Again, check it out at funkymooseradio.ca.
Right on. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. Thank you for coming to hang out with us this fine Monday evening. How you guys been doing?
I'm doing really good.
Right on. For the viewers and listeners out there, we got in contact with these fine artists out of Alberta through, correct me if I'm wrong here, I think the base connection there would be Muse Canada. Am I accurate in saying that?
Yeah, I think that's where it started. I recall seeing a link somewhere, and I couldn't put it together at first where it was, but somehow it triggered for me to go look it up. I'm pretty sure it must have been there. Muse Canada, the firecracker behind that is Jessie Toms, a friend of the band, and she's quite the little powerhouse. I say little because she's a petite girl, and but she's really great, particularly on the Edmonton scene. She seems to be everywhere, and we met her a number of years. I think it was actually through Alberta Music, which is I can't remember what the exact Saskatchewan counterpart to that, but it's one of the.
It'd be Saskatchewan Sask Music.
Sask Music.
Sask Music, yeah. It's the Alberta counterpart, and so we often end up at networking events together with her, and so that's sort of
cool
how we became connected to Muse Canada. Actually, Jessie just wrote a real great article about our most recent show, so that was part of why I was looking at the site, is because I was looking for the link for something. I just send it to somebody. So,
looking for an article and find us. I like
that.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah. So why I did have the pleasure of listening to your guys' music today, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
For those of you listening out there, what would you relate it to, Mark, if you were to describe it?
See, this is always hard to say if this is it could be an insult or it could be flattering.
Well, before you do that, I want everyone to know that we love this music. It's good. It's good music.
It doesn't matter what we say from here on out. We like the music. But heavily influenced by Rage Against the Machine, I would say. And there's also a Dutch band, which I can't remember the name of now, but that they have the same kind of vibe.
Kind of vibe there. Yeah, I would agree with Mark. Not sure what Dutch band he's talking about, but definitely a lot of like riffs and stuff, like call back to 90s Rage Against the Machine music, and I was a big fan of Rage Against the Machine.
Was?
Well, I still am.
Okay.
I definitely still crank that shit as much as I can. Why don't you guys tell us a little bit about the band? How long have you guys been together for? Because this is the first that I didn't know who you guys were up until like a week ago.
Well, we've been together since 2009, Glenn?
That, yeah. Doing the math. I think maybe 2010. It's long enough ago that it's harder to remember. The funny thing is, I was just chatting on Messenger with the guy that gave us our first booking for a club show ever. A guy named Scotty Ames out of Edmonton at Studio Music Foundation. That club's gone now, but anyway, he just played a real cool show, so I was congratulating him on it, and then I remembered, hey, Thanks, man. You gave us that show. It was cool. But yeah, we started I think around 2010, and then we woodshedded for a full probably 2 years, and it took us a bit to find a drummer. Originally, it was Ken on vocals, myself on guitar, and Ryan, our bass player, and then we had trouble finding a drummer at first. So first while we had no drummer, and we just were working on writing songs. And then
well, for the first 2 years, we basically used a drum machine.
Yeah, like loops and stuff.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of drums, I just watched Count Me In on Netflix. It's all about drummers.
Was it good?
I liked it, yeah.
Is it like a movie or a series?
It's a documentary. So it talks about and with a bunch of drummers, and why they got into drumming and how they got their start, and they're famous drummers.
Oh yeah.
So anyway.
Cool.
I heard something about that the other day.
Yeah, and
But
they were
I haven't
also
seen it yet.
they were also talking about the first drum computer, which was a Lin something or other. And so how in the 80s and early 90s they started using, like, Eurythmics, for example, started using the drum computers.
Yeah.
Right.
And everybody's like, oh, drummers are obsolete now. And then they're like, yeah, no, that's not how that works.
I feel like Nine Inch Nails and Marilyn Manson did that too on their first couple albums, at least.
Yep.
Yeah, that would have been early 90s as well. So,
Yep.
yeah, it's clear that you guys are heavy influenced by Rage Against the Machine. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
So, like, is it like, my question in relation to that would be, when your band started, was everybody like big Rage Against the Machine fans, or was that like the individual who started the group was heavily influenced and then kind of just brought in people that liked the same music? Like, how did that go around?
So that kind of goes back to how the band started. So Glenn and Ryan and our current drummer, Krishna, were all in another band called Ellis. And Ellis had actually a pretty good shot at making it. What studio was trying to pick, or what label was picking you up, Glenn?
It was Capitol Records.
Capitol.
In LA.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was in another band called The Pitiless Storm, and we broke up, and then Ellis broke up, and I hounded Glenn and Ryan and Krishna to join me in a project. I don't know, it took me probably a good year before I convinced Glenn to come over and play guitar with me. And then Ryan eventually said yes, and then we didn't have a drummer for a long time. But the music, I think, is just an expression of, like, so we're not a drug, sex, and rock and roll band. Like, I would say we're a principle-driven band. And that's been the driver behind our success long term, I think, because music comes and goes, and shows come and go, and bands come and go, and we've definitely we've seen bands come and go. But it's really the fact that we value each other as humans first. We value each other as brothers first and foremost. So there's a deep care amongst the four of us for each other and for our well-being. And then those principles express themselves in our music. In the music, the lyrics that I write, we have basically two principles behind our music, and that's to educate and to inspire. Like I think Glenn said in the text to you guys, like, we want to rise above, not against, is one of the principles that we think about. Like, it doesn't make any sense for the world to continue in its division. Right? Yeah. Whether what political slant you take, or cultural, or where you stand on any issue, shouldn't cause divide, because we should be united across common principles. Like, every human shares the same intrinsic value, period. Even if you're Hitler, I'm sorry. Every human has the same value when they're born, and we need to be all evaluated against that standard. And so those principles drive the desire to inspire people to change, and it definitely drives the desire and the emotion behind educating people about what's happening in the world. Our latest single that we just got the first fresh mix of, called No System Better Than War, we actually talk about the child slaves of Cartagena in Colombia, and nobody knows about that, and nobody is aware that Cartagena is a major hub for the child sex exploitation system.
Oh wow.
You know, right? And the reason for that is it's one of the largest tourist attractions areas in that part of the country, in that part of the world, right? So, it's stuff like that where it's like, all of this stuff is happening, and it's happening even here in our backyard. And we have another song called "Lynchpin Children." We talk about the same thing happening everywhere, even here in Canada, even our backyards. Globally, there are 40 million human slaves in the world, and a large portion of those are sexually exploited. So think about that. Edmonton is
that's 40 million too
people.
many.
Yeah.
That's 40 million too
exactly.
many, right? And we live in a world where we focus on these issues that I find that are taking away from what is important in the world. One of the smartest things I ever read about activism was you got to put your time and energy and resources where you're going to have the largest impact, and across the largest group. And I absolutely believe that as a global community, we could solve poverty, and we could solve the education system problem across the globe. Because education is the driver for change, right? So. And yet we get stuck on these issues that just cause us to divide. We label each other, you're in that group and you're in that group, and if you're in that group, you can't agree with me on this because you're in that group, and it just doesn't make any sense. So really, what we're trying to accomplish is to bring unity around. Yeah, those issues are not important, but we're really getting distracted from what's really important. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been to third world countries. I've done mission work, and not massive amounts of mission work, but I've been to those places. I've been to El Salvador. I've been to Cambodia. I've been to Thailand doing those things. And when you see people who are so happy and yet so impoverished, it really, really makes a change in the way that you think and view the world. And the human suffering is one of the things that we ignore in popular culture,
Right.
And it's right out. It's literally right next door. Both geographically in the globe. And you go further south than the United States, and the cost of the quality of life and the systems that people live in there get more and more entrenched in fear, and I'm seeing that creep up into our culture where we are willing to give up our freedoms for fear and safety, and we're willing to villainize each other to get it and to do it, and it just drives me nuts. So I'm very passionate about what we're doing as a group, as a band. It's a platform upon which I'm trying to get our message across. And it's not just what we say in our music, in the songs, it's what we say in between the songs from stage. I really try to experience a level of vulnerability and sharing who I am between the songs. But I think what really is the real meat of what we are is who we are off the stage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so proud of Glenn and Ryan and Krishna for the men that they are. They're honorable guys.
100%, man. I
Yep.
agree with everything that you're saying right now.
Yep.
I'm just like in my head. I'm like, holy shit! I want to get to know you guys even more. Yeah. Like, fuck! I wish we were in person right now, dude.
Yeah, because it's.
Well, I want to dive in on that intrinsic value thing for a second, because it's something we talk a lot about, and it's something that that might kind of glance off the brain just a little bit as a projectile, just ping. But to me, that's one of the really telling things about whether you, in terms of your belief set or your approach to the world or your approach to even like problem solving, and maybe in your relationships with your partner or your family or whatever, when you look at whatever that point of conflict is, and you lose track of the fact that that person has intrinsic value and that they're right to express their ideas, and have you take the time to really think about what they're saying before you dismiss them purely because the ideas don't do this. You cheat yourself at it so much, and it's the first sign that you are getting off track. If you devalue that person because of some criteria, it's their idea set, it's their appearance, obviously racism is a prevalent problem that we're facing, and it's just so tied into so many of our social problems too. If we don't keep that in mind, that's when we get off the rails as a society. And it's really easy in social media now. It's like, we've got all these Twitter storms, and we've got people getting, accounts deleted or whatever. And the last time I checked in Canada, our core documents as a society protect the freedom of expression. And part of figuring things out, part of figuring out problems is to think aloud and talk about things amongst ourselves. And as we're doing that, we go, well, that's a terrible idea, actually. Okay, well, no, dude, like, we got to get off that. But
Right.
but seriously, that's how we think. We think verbally, and we're terrible at admitting that we just don't know the answer. The older I get, the more I realize I just don't know. My kid is 22. She asks me stuff, and I'm like, I don't know. We're going to have to think about this one. We're going to have to talk about it. We're going to have to try to figure out this problem, because I really don't know. Yeah. And then the other part of that is if you can muster in your heart to find some love for that person, whoever they might be, whether it's, it's easier when it's someone that you know well to muster that love when they're pissing you off. But when it's a stranger, it gets
when
a
it's
little
your
harder.
enemy, when it's somebody that you can perceive as an aggressor
An enemy.
in your life.
Yeah, or a threat or something, right?
Yep.
Right, yeah.
But it is all a mindset. It truly is. I think everything's all a mindset.
Yep.
And everybody's able to change, but I feel like so many of us, I think we're all able to change for the better, but not everybody is willing to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's the basis for that mindset?
Yeah, so it's like how people can say, like, I remember when I was a kid and Nintendo came out and we had Nintendo, right? There was a time limit. You could play for 20 minutes, 30 minutes a night, whatever the fucking case may be. And even just television, when TV came out, people are like, don't watch too much TV, you'll go blind. That's bad on your eyes and shit. And like, dude, we're all okay. We're not blind from watching TV. It's just, it's all bullshit, man. Everybody thinks they know everything about everything, and I feel like nobody knows anything.
And I feel like social media didn't help with that at all, because somebody reads one post on Facebook and now they know everything about that subject.
Yeah, or they think they do. I've had to message friends and be like, dude, like, not telling them to take a post down or whatever, but I'm like, yeah, what you just shared from that person that you don't know, that's inaccurate information.
Yep.
So I'll send them, like, I wouldn't say accurate links, but I would say more credible information, like from a more credible source. And like, here's what you're...
That's what I did to you last week.
On which one?
That's
No, he's lying, by the way.
No, that 988 post that you posted.
The which one?
988? That was live now? but that's only coming out next year.
Well, nowhere's in my post did it say that it was live. It just said that this is the number to call.
But you can't call that number yet.
No, but still, it's bringing awareness that there is a number out there that you can call if
and that's
you're
what
having
I was saying.
like mental
like the message
issues.
itself was good. It's just you can't call the number yet.
It's not ready.
That's all.
Yeah.
But you get the point, though, that we're trying to make here is that
Yeah, definitely.
that as you find yourself going to social media, just gets us jacked because there's no one's gonna punch you in the teeth because you said it wrong, right? Like when you're at the bar and you're having a drink and you get too mouthy because you have liquid courage.
Yeah.
There's the imminent threat of someone popping you in the mouth, and you know, do you go around looking for the most violent people to hang out with? No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying that social media comes without consequence. So you can just light someone's life on fire, and there's no consequence to you until it happens to you for making the mistake. So maybe, you know, it might be prudent for us to just sort of take a chill and just remember, okay, wait, no, I'm getting all aggressive here. This person has intrinsic value. Maybe I should listen for a minute and see if they might even have one valid point that I can learn from. Maybe just take that in for a minute.
Find a common ground and then build off of that, right?
Yeah. And even if you don't, they still have value. It might just not be on this topic.
Yeah.
You know, hey man, this is super tough stuff. You know, we're going through all kinds of difficulties where we're trying to figure out now that we have all this knowledge of the internet and we have all these bad things that have happened in the past. And yet there's also been a ton of good things that have happened, or we'd be still rubbing sticks together and living in a cave.
Right.
So
together
with innovation has come terrible costs, and we've screwed up and made tons of mistakes as a society. And here we are. So, you know, I might be complaining about some of the difficulties of social media, but I've got a friggin' $3,000 laptop in front of me here. You know, boo-hoo. What, you know, like, suck it up, Buttercup. It's like, you know, there's probably some conflict minerals in here, maybe. I don't know. But without it, I couldn't do any stuff. There could be.
Is that an Apple product?
Sure. But guess what? No one talks about the fact that Foxconn makes stuff for all kinds of other companies too, including Samsung. No one just wants to talk about it. It's like, Apple, they're the biggest one. Wag the finger. It's like
3/4 of our band are major Apple people.
Yeah. Half of us.
I enjoy the ecosystem. That's all I'll say. Is I work with PC all day, and I use Mac at home.
Right.
So how does that translate? So all of this, what we just talked about, translates into your music. So when you do a show, or actually your social media, what does that look like? How do you get, when you get feedback from your fans or maybe not fans, what do those conversations look like? Like, for example, at a show, when you talk to whoever's there, do
people talk to Ken all the time? Ken, you should take that one. Like after the show, when someone says comments on the song or something, or whatever.
We have one song in our set that it's the one song that's from that band, like that doesn't belong in that set list. And it's a song I wrote about going through a terrible time in my life, and the song's called Burn Unit. And it's literally the song. I don't say burn unit anywhere in the song. It's just that the song
it has nothing to do with the burn unit.
Okay.
Yeah. The song itself is an emotional burn unit for me because I get to express the sorrow of the loss that I went through. And I talk about depression, and I talk about struggling and loss. Because I'm still currently, the last few years have been really, really hard on me in a lot of particular ways. I lost my mom to cancer. I lost my 20-year marriage. I My business is in shambles. COVID obviously has a huge part to play in a lot of that. um, so just being able to talk about that stuff and then pour out my emotions in the song, I get a lot of people. I get a very good mix of both men and women who want to talk to me about and thank me for being vulnerable. And vulnerability actually is like I'll
That's a
talk
key
about that
value
more
for
later,
us.
but it's a huge value for me and in the band. But so I'll get a large response of people that want to talk to me about stuff that they've experienced and gone through, and just find a safe place because they feel like, and I am a safe person to talk to. And so I have a lot of really deep, long conversations often with people, like hours long. I get, I'll sit down at a table somewhere and yeah. And the other group of people that comes and talks to me are the young men who hear the other messages about, um, making a change in your life and stuff like that. I get a lot of, like when we played the Howler, I got in the elevator afterwards and there were about 8 guys in there and all in their 20s. And they didn't realize who I was until about the second floor. And then they realized that I was the performer from the first band and they just went nuts. And they're like, you started a conversation amongst the 8 of us that we don't all agree on. But now we're talking about it. And I'm like, that's awesome. And then they wanted me to go do lines of coke in their room. But it's really cool. Like those young men are the ones that I think primarily like our message is for everybody because our message is ultimately I think about vulnerability, which is odd to say for a hard rock band or whatever you want to call us, but I believe vulnerability is every human's greatest power. And that's what I try to do when I'm on stage, is I try to be so present in the moment and present with our message and present with the giving of myself and receiving of it of the audience's response. I'm trying to teach people that doesn't have to look like that. It doesn't have to look like you performing on stage. It could look like you raising a child. It could look like you doing whatever you do, right? But engaging in it in a way that's what I call vulnerability, where you peel back and you're clawing at the edge of your reality to find the next layer of skill or layer of wonder or layer of what you're going to discover about yourself ultimately is what you're doing.
What's one of your songs that you had sent Glenn that would best speak on vulnerability?
Probably the one that Ken was just talking about, that Burn Unit track. It's like he said, it's not the most, it's not the best summary of our sound, but it's oddly for such a heavy band as we are, and it's not like we're death metal or something,
right?
But we're intense, and it's an odd song to expect out of a band like this, but it's important. So particularly coming out of the challenges of COVID and whatnot, I think it's really good for people to hear, try and find your friends that you can really trust and talk about this stuff, talk about your mental health, talk about your well-being. Stop putting on the tough guy mask, pull that off and go, dude, I'm having a hard time. I need some help with this.
100%. I couldn't agree anymore.
Can we maybe put that song in the episode here right now?
That's what I was getting at. Do you mind if we give that a spin for the listeners right now, you guys?
Cool.
Yeah. Let's put that on.
Okay.
I'll unpack one other detail about the Burn Unit. To me, Burn Unit means, like how when you watch those gold mining shows on Discovery or whatever, yeah. they got to put the gold in the crucible and melt that down, and all of the impurities burn off. And the difficulties of life are like that refining action that's going on in that crucible. And for Ken, going through all this horrible garbage in his life, it's refined him. It's baked and cooked off all that.
Definitely. I think I love how you're able to use music as a source of release for all that shit that we go through. And as like, I'm not a musician, I don't play at all. But when I do listen to music, like, mark my words, I go in deep, man. When I'm listening to it, I'm trying to like, I try and my best to take it all in, put myself in their shoes, and hear the message coming out. Right? I think everybody who listens to music tries to do that, but and I couldn't think of a better way, like artsy, to be able to release that. You know, if you got so many different, like a bunch of bullshit going on in your life, the music that you're playing, I think, is like a perfect fucking outlet to get rid of all that negativity and emotion. And the fact that you're using it to draw awareness to real fucking things that truly matter in our world and our lives, man, I gotta give you all the props I possibly can for that. It's not just some fucking country song singing about whiskey and girls or whatever. Like, dude, there's a legitimate message behind your music, and I fucking support it tenfold, dude. 100%.
Not to say that you're downplaying the country song with
no,
Whiskey and
I'm
Girls,
not. I'm just
that has its place too.
But what I was saying, like, that's what's appealing to me with you guys. Like, just it's not just a bunch of fucking screaming in the microphone that doesn't make any sense. Like, there's a legitimate message here, and you're using the tools that you have to bring that awareness to it, and I fucking love that, dude. I applaud you. I truly do. Man, I'm a fan. Big time.
So with that, we're going to play the song right now.
So I lay me down to sleep, and I scream my soul won't keep, and I go swimming in the flames, 'cause my life's in ashes again. And I cry out, please, Father, save me. But he said, son, not this time. No, not this time. So I try to walk, but I'm forced to crawl, because I've cut myself at the knees again. And he did not stop me from stumbling, no. He did not hold me from the fall. Ripped right open to reveal these scars, and somehow I'm beautiful. I'll never be the same. I'll never be the same again. I'll never be the same. Never be the same. Am I crawling from the grave? No, I don't know. Am I still just a slave? Yeah, I think so. How I long for your embrace, this child falling from grace. So headlong into the fire I'll swim, and on that smoke I'll choke. But there is beauty in the flames, and there is mercy in the cause. Never be the same. I'll never be the same again. Never be the same. Never be the same. Never be the same. Never be the same again. Never be the same. Never be the same. Christ. He was the architect of my fire.
Sorry for the interruption, you guys. I just wanted to tell you guys about Muse Canada. They're a new arts and entertainment media connection and support network. Skip the algorithms of social media and connect with other entertainment professionals across Canada. Sign up today for $5 a month or use the promo code FunkyMoose2021 for 10% off. That is FUNKYMOOSE2021 for 10% off. Back to the show.
You guys probably wouldn't guess it, but all those songs so far, they re-recorded in our garage and in a sleeping bag.
In a sleeping bag?
I don't follow.
All our vocals
Sung into a sleeping bag as a
I
sound
screamed
muffle.
into we hung a sleeping bag in a closet, put the mic inside there. That was
Yeah.
my booth.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I've seen that before where, well, maybe not a sleeping bag per se, but blankets and just to muffle the
So
sound.
that's the whole reason for that, is to just get rid of any excess sound. I wouldn't even have thought to do that. That's fucking
to
genius,
get rid of
man.
the reflections coming to the back of the microphone because it muffles the tonality of it. So actually, if you're looking at recording gear at all on Amazon or any of that, you're going to end up with these ads that have this little, I can't see that. It's kind of like your hands cupped like this.
Yeah, like this.
It's this thing, and it's about 3 feet wide, and it's this half circle, and it's filled with foam, and then there's a suspension microphone mount in the middle of it, and it does the same thing, but it costs $200.
Right.
And the sleeping bag is $40 at Canadian Tire.
Oh, that's genius. Fucking genius.
I think that was Ryan's idea. We'll give Ryan credit for that.
Sure.
Oh yeah, for sure, that was Ryan's idea.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Our
we have
earliest
two new
recordings
singles.
were Ryan recording us in our rehearsal space, which was at the time my garage. And so most of Fist and Flame was recorded in the garage.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
Is your car getting cold, Ken?
No, it is cold. It's cold here.
Because you can probably turn your car and fan on a little bit at least.
Okay,
Because
I'll turn it on low.
I have a feeling I can see your breath.
You can see my breath, yeah.
We don't want you freezing over there.
So you guys are out of Edmonton, Alberta, correct?
Yeah.
Right on. Why don't you fill us in and the listeners on this last show that the Muse did an article on you guys?
Yeah.
The Muse Canada did.
I can take that one. So one of the big rock radio stations in Edmonton is 100.3 The Bear. Some might say it's slightly more classic rock, but it's classic rock plus, in the sense that what is now classic, is Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
So,
Depressing, that one.
yeah. There's a reason there's silver in this beer.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Bear has an annual Halloween party, and they call it the Halloween Howler. And this year was the 28th Halloween Howler, but the last 2 years were missed because of COVID. And one of the things that we try to do is be good citizens of the scene, and we've been plugging away trying to build relationships with promoters and booking agents and other bands and things, and trying to get opportunities like this, bigger opening shows. And we worked to try to make the connections. And the promoter that booked the talent for this is a company called Trickstar Entertainment, Trickstar Live, and they're based here in Edmonton, but they have a Nashville office. And anyway, they ended up giving us the nod, but that was 3 years ago, and then it got canceled twice. And so this year we're just going, please don't cancel. But I mean, of course, it's a big radio station, so there's corporate concerns about health and well-being, so they weren't gonna, they weren't gonna push it too far. They want everyone to have a good experience and not get sick and whatever. But anyway, finally it happened this year, and we had the opportunity to open for Steel Panther and Blackstone Cherry.
Sweet.
Nice.
So it was sold out, which means it's about 2,000 people total. There probably wasn't 2,000 people in front of us when we played, probably more like 750, 1,000 or whatever, but still bigger than any club show you can play in Edmonton pretty much. Mm-hmm. And my wife was in the crowd, and she said people just, as soon as we started playing, it was kind of like the crowd was like, see what now? And they just all moved forward. And
that was intense.
That was intense because
for me, like it was
just like what, coming in, coming up, and it's a big room. Like it's a big room, so that was pretty cool. So it was very validating, and I think honestly one of the coolest things about it was how many messages I got in the weeks leading up to it from other scene members, basically like music scene members, going, dude, you represent us. You're, so proud of you guys and whatever. That felt as good, almost as good as the energy coming off the crowd in that big room, because it meant that a lot of what we've been saying we believe and what we've been talking about so far was real, because it wasn't just talk, because all these people are going, you know what, we love you guys and we're proud that we know you and that you got this. Kill it. Right. And so we felt a certain obligation to kill it. And I'm really pleased with how we did. I wouldn't exactly say that we're thematically aligned, shall we say, with Steel Panther and their vibe. We're kind of like, I don't have enough screen to put my hands far enough apart to explain the lyrical differences. But you know what? They were super cool to us backstage. The coolest thing happened to Ken. Michael Starr said to Ken, "You guys are local?" And the kid goes, "Yeah. Trying not to be though, right?" Yeah. Yeah. And then that was it. But it was that acknowledgement of like, yeah, keep at it, basically.
It's so almost like that, cool. Like him telling you that you're doing the right things, and if you continue to do what you're doing, the pieces will fall.
It's going to work.
Yeah, you won't be that local band anymore.
No, and I absolutely believe that's kind of what's happening. We're seeing this momentum build. We've got 2 new singles coming out with a producer now, finally, and they're a progression of our music, and because now we're working with a producer. We've got that level coming too. So
right.
I think those things are happening, and we're working on some tour ideas for next year. But it's really like the Canadian music industry and opportunities are so few and far in between. Like the Headstones, they said they were going to do the Canadian tour and have a local opener at every stop. Right? And that would be a massive opportunity by a Canadian band that made it to give an opportunity in every city. So, and then they asked for submissions, and we submitted one. Of course we did. We would be the perfect opener for them.
Right.
And then in the end, they just decide to tour with one of their buddy bands. So you have, what I mean? It's like almost like a slap in the face, where it's like a bunch of people spent money on making video submissions for this, and then you just kind of
change your mind on it.
So the stuff like that's really
that one sucked a little bit, but for me at the same time, I'm like, you know what? Okay, I can't. It's easy to kind of get stuck in a cycle of going, oh, it didn't work out.
You can't stay there. Right? You got to make your own opportunity.
Yeah,
you have to push. You have to make your own.
Not everyone's going to say yes. And there's more than just us. There's a ton of other bands that want to do stuff. We can't keep hearing yes every time. but certainly we hear, just like you're saying, Joel, we hear no an awful lot. And I think that's probably one of the harder things about being an independent and actually trying to work at leveling up, because that's what we're really trying to do right now, is level up if we can.
Right.
But you got to knock on an awful lot of doors and hear an awful lot of no's.
Agreed.
So
Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate that that's the way it is, but I mean, recognizing that that's the way it is, you can get 10,000 no's, but all it's going to take is one yes.
Yep.
To fucking change everything.
Well,
and you
and
won't
in a
get,
lot of ways,
and you won't get that yes without going through those 10,000 no's.
And there are a lot of artists that give up after 3 no's.
Yeah,
you know?
because they just for whatever the reason may be.
Yep.
Yeah, and so in a lot of ways, we got that Howler gig, and I don't want to say it with a ton of pride. I just mean it in the sense of, like, we did the work, and we were rewarded, and I'm grateful for it. It doesn't mean we didn't do the work. Somebody had to say yes to us, and so you have to be grateful for that yes, because they're still going, I haven't seen you. Or myself, but I'm saying yes because someone else said I should, and I trust them, so I'm going to trust you. Don't let me down. That's basically what happens when you're trying to level up. Is somebody's saying yes, hoping that they don't regret it.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Ken, you were trying to say something. I cut you off. Sorry.
Oh yeah, like I was saying, I still own a renewable energy company. But it's much smaller now. It's just me. But we, in our heyday, we had a shop and everything like that. And so every year I'd throw a barbecue, and we'd literally sell tickets to our company barbecue, and we'd have Revolution Engine on, and we'd get like 3 other bands, and we'd been making our own opportunities since the beginning, right?
Yep.
And there's no reason to stop doing that. Like we're thinking about tours, and we're thinking about how do we create our own tour? How do we do that?
Hell yeah. Well, let me ask you, I'm going to, I guess, change direction here a little bit, but if you guys are starting to create your own tours, can you walk me, just an average Joe, like, into that process? And, like, where do you begin? I for sure there's some of our listeners out there that are also artists, and they're in that place in their careers as well where they're trying to just figure it out, man. So I'm really interested in hearing how you guys come about it and where you're at with it.
I would say our manager, Brandy, is the lady to talk to about this, because it really comes down to network. You have to know how to work a network. And if you're trying to set up a tour in a place that you don't live, you have to figure out what the network is where you want to go, right? So it's finding the people that are already there, the venues, and then booking venues. And then you basically, it's logistics. It's just a fuck ton of logistics. You need a equipment manager, and like we did a tour. What year, Glenn?
It was last year. It was 20.
Was it last
21.
year? And for the most part, the musicians moved all the equipment. There was an equipment manager and a stage manager or whatever, but the musicians do a lot of the work. You're a local musician. You're not
Metallica here. Yeah.
You're not Steel Panther.
Yeah, we don't have a crew of a dozen and 6 buses and 12 semi trucks.
It doesn't have to be fancy and complicated. It's basically setting up a bunch of shows all in a row. So
I have some thoughts on it, though.
Go ahead, Glenn.
So a couple of things that we've learned. I mean, so far we mostly play Alberta. We play Edmonton, we play Red Deer, and a bunch of shows around central Alberta. For whatever reason, we just kind of clicked with blue collar Alberta. And then in Calgary and Canmore and Lethbridge and, so around the province. But I'm from the 306. I grew up in southern Saskatchewan. The fact that we haven't played Saskatoon and Regina yet, I spent a lot of time around Moose Jaw, Swift Current. I want to I would really like to see us playing into Saskatchewan this year because it's the homeland. My wife's from Nipawin, Saskatchewan. Shout out. Even PA. Go play PA. I don't know if there's any place to play in PA. No idea. But what part of what Ken, like, if I can kind of leap off the platform Ken just built there, that the networking part, relationship building is a must if you want to succeed on the music, on the business side of music, because the same people that are there on your way up are going to be there on your way back down. And if you don't treat them like they are those intrinsic human valued people, they're going to not make it great for you on the way back down. But beyond that too, it's like, stop treating it like you're competing and build a scene, build a brotherhood, sisterhood, whatever the connections is. So, Joel, I was asking you, sorry, I just was talking to Joel this weekend, guy from Canmore. But looking at the scene and things, trying to reach out and go, okay, well, who's playing in Saskatchewan? I didn't even know. There's this other well, it's not podcast. It's sort of like internet radio, Indie Rock Network. Sorry, they feature a lot of Saskatchewan artists, and they've added us to their playlist over time. And they'd connected us with one band, but we haven't actually worked it out to play a show with them. And for some reason, their name's not coming to mind right now. But then I was looking at Moose Fest. What's that?
Firing at the Sky?
No, it was a different one. But yeah, that too. But Chris isn't doing that anymore. He's doing sort of a folk thing. Anyway, doesn't matter. The point is that you've got to build connections with other bands and do, a home and home or something. And depending on where you're at, you have to take different approaches. We're not 18 anymore, living in mom's basement, hopping in a van that we got from grandpa and driving across Canada playing Moose Jaw on a Tuesday night.
Right.
We're not going to do that. We've got houses and mortgages and whatever. So what can we do? Well, we can do something called pocket tours. We can play Camrose on a Friday night, Saskatoon on a Saturday night, go home. 3 weeks later, we can go Red Deer, Calgary. 3 weeks later, we can do Jasper, Grand Prairie.
Right.
Whatever. You see what I'm saying? Like these little
100%,
jaunts going home. So those kinds of things, and then going, okay, well, who's playing these scenes? They need someone to fill the night, and we need somebody to give us a chance in their market. And so if you're the out-of-towner or you're bringing an out-of-towner onto your bill, be nice to them. Give them the second last spot so that they are right before the home favorite, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Give them the chance. Give them the honor of playing to your fans. And hopefully they'll do you a solid in return. And then it's on you to try to do that, because that's a scene builder, right? Share fans and make sure you do the work, because no one's going to do it for you. You got to sell the tickets, put people in a headlock, make them buy advance tickets. Don't go, oh yeah, download them from the website. That's a guaranteed flake out.
That's
recipe.
why Ken goes to the gym. Put people in the headlock.
Yeah.
To get him in
That's
the
right.
headlock. My
Yeah,
dude,
okay.
I could not be more on the same page as you.
Yeah.
Like,
Same here.
I feel like everything you're explaining right now is everything that Mark and I have been trying to be doing for the last, like, 4 years.
Every time you guys talk, we're just sitting here nodding.
We're like, yep,
uh-huh,
I know
yep,
exactly.
yep.
Like, I couldn't agree more, man. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Now, it's not to say it's not frustrating when people jam, but if you got their money, sorry, if they jam out and don't show up, well, it's like,
Yeah.
thanks for paying for part of the tank of gas. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. But anyway, so we want to come out your way at some point here. I guess, like Ken was saying, our manager's working on some things, but I've been messaging with with one of the guys from Weapons, and like Joel, was it you? No, it was the Weapons guys that were sending us some examples of bands. I got a list on my desk here. They were talking about, and a bunch of these bands you'll know, like the Radiant. You were talking about the Hour Hand earlier. There's Dead Levy. I don't know if it's Swayze or Sways. They're a punk band.
That one I'm not that familiar
I
with.
think they're from Regina.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Swayze, maybe?
And Alien to the Ignorant.
Yeah, Alien to the Ignorant,
Yeah.
Driveway Legends. So there's a bunch of band names.
Oh,
that-
who's the ones that we had on? Deaf Idols.
Deaf Idols, yes.
Deaf Idols would be a good fit with you guys.
Yes.
If
writing it down.
I fucking amen. I think they would. They're out of Regina.
And then
Cool.
maybe you can squeeze in Small City Blues too.
Yeah, I
But
could
that's
I can
a
help
stretch.
you with that one. Those guys are hard to get together,
Yeah.
but they're phenomenal.
When they're together, they're fantastic.
Yeah, Deaf Idols, man. That's who I would recommend you guys reach out to first if I
And-
have any say in that.
Angus Livingstone is probably the guy to talk to.
One of them. I can send you some contacts.
Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Definitely. Yeah, dude, we're friends with so many fucking people. Dude, we're the ones going to the shows and like hanging out with the bands after, man. I love it. I'm living a dream, I tell ya. and it's so much fun
Yeah, we
because
love that too.
it's
love
more than just a party for me. It's
Yeah.
I love getting to know you all as individuals and see the humility in all of you, as opposed to just that fucking rock star on stage. Like I love opportunities to get to know everybody on a deeper level because we're all just human anyway, right? Like, and that appeals to me significantly. So
And like we said in the beginning, we don't always have to agree on something, but
yeah,
that doesn't matter.
yeah, and then making your own opportunities. So that's exactly like what Mark and I have been doing, like starting the radio station. We started Moose Fest. We started this podcast, all because of our love for music.
Yep.
Right? So realistically, it's the music that's bringing us all together. And we're all friends. Like there's not one person who's been on this podcast that I would not consider a friend, like a close friend. Do you know what I mean? And I'm very fucking grateful for all of that. How awesome everybody in the scene is. Like nationwide, worldwide. Fuck, we've had people out of New York on the show and they were good people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Switzerland.
I love it. That being said, can we have permission to spin another song? Anyone you guys want?
Well, I think did we already agree to spin Business Suit Bonfire? I can't remember. I forget. We talked about it.
We
but I
talked
remember
about
we
it.
Agreed to spin.
Sure.
Okay, so let's spin that one for sure. On this topic of listening, Lower Your Weapons is a good one. You would think that it's like I'm taking you over, but no, that's not what it's about. It's about let's just chill out, lower our weapons, and stop the tribalism that divides us, and take a minute to listen to each other while we still have a chance, while we still have a choice. Because tribes just fight. Be careful about how hard those tribe lines are. Let people in.
Right.
So anyway, I feel like it's particularly important right now as we look across the border to the crazy neighbors in the basement. Man, they need to chill out.
Yeah.
Like take a breath, man. Like you're not that smart. You're not that perfect. In fact, you're really quite far from perfect, because I know I am far from perfect.
Yeah.
So anyway, lower your weapons. Do you agree, Ken?
Yeah, I like that one.
Cool.
All right. Okay, let's give that one a spin right now for you guys.
We're here to say something. This is for the government. Powers in your rights, yeah. Powers on the fight now. All together we for the sum of one. And when we fight, they've already won. So put your hands together in love. And when they declare war, we gather more together, son. Yeah, we do it some more. Allow your weapons. Raise your voice. Everybody. While we still have a choice. Allow your weapons. Raise your voice. Everybody. Make some noise. We fight for freedom. Let's fight for truth. But just because you're different than me doesn't mean we both can be free.
Is there anything, is there like a hot topic, anything pressing that you guys want to make sure we touch on before we let you guys go?
Yeah, I think there's something that is a running theme through our music is, and Ken touched on it earlier, is the matter of sexual exploitation. I'm on the board of an organization in Edmonton called CEASE, stands for Center to End All Sexual Exploitation, and part of our mandate is to help people exit the sex trade when they're in positions of being trafficked, or the term that's often used is agency. Do you have agency? You know, some element of choice about what's going on for you. There's a real large movement, perhaps you've heard of it, OnlyFans. And there's tons of girls going, oh yeah, there's no harm, until the guy captures that video of that one-on-one session that you had with him and posts it all over the internet. And now your future husband gets to see how you behaved with other people. I'm not speaking for CEASE on that front, but,
right.
But the point is that I've met ladies that were selling sex at 12 years old and 13 years old. And now they're in their 40s and they finally exited. Like,
oh, wow.
You want to talk about loss of intrinsic human value. The stories I've heard just make your blood just curdle right on the spot.
How does, I have a question. Sorry to interrupt you on that.
No, it's cool.
How is that mentally for you specifically when you have to like see all that shit at face value throughout your day-to-day life? Like, how do you not take all that negativeness home with you? Like, what do you do?
Well, I'm on the board, so I'm not in the trenches dealing with the it's predominantly ladies, but it's one of those things that, again, kind of steals the resolve. And by steals, I mean like harden. I don't mean like robs. It hardens the resolve to keep doing something, because there's and it extends into other areas. As guys, we tend to think of porn, for example, as a victimless activity, and it just simply isn't. Porn is a hardcore feeder for human trafficking, and if you think that the vast majority of the subjects, particularly the female ones, don't have some level of lost agency, you're kidding yourself.
We have a song about that called
objectification. Yeah.
Oh man,
on
dude,
the album,
you're making me realize how much of a shit person I am.
No, but that's not the objective, right? Like the objective is to shine a light, to inspire and educate.
Right.
Because people don't think about it. It's like, you know what? As guys, particularly, we've got this just drive in us that you just can't turn it off, and it goes. And when relationship maintenance is going into the crapper, it's easy to just check out and solve the problem, shall we say?
Yeah.
But there's a cost down the road, you know. Eventually, that I'm finally 18. That girl was 12 when she probably started.
Right.
Now she's finally legal, and someone's making movies about it. And then now she's 40.
Right.
And
that's like, do you know who Tracy Lords is? Do you know who that is? So Tracy Lords, she's an older woman now, but she was a porn star like in the 60s, 70s. And when she started acting in pornographic movies, she lied about her age so that she said she was 18, but she was like 15 or 16 or something when in those first movies that she did. Mm-hmm. So like it just, it's what I'm getting at is like some of that. I get the pornography thing. Like that could be a fucking 15-year-old girl that you're jerking off to right there and not know it, you know, and then you find out 20. Yeah, exactly. Like, and that can be very traumatizing. Yep. For sure.
Yeah. So we have this, what I was getting at, sorry, it took a little long to get here, but a friend of ours is a former sex worker and has been working on a documentary, and I don't want to say the name of it, and it's gone. I really got to write it down in my book, so I can just open it and see. But it's a docuseries, and we're hoping that it's going to come out this year. They've been trying to get buy in on like a major streaming platform to bring it online, because it'd be just a brain exploder. But anyway, she talks about how through the course of the films, how she's gone from being exploited to trying to build a life, and you know, now she's married and has 3 kids, and you'd meet her and think she was just a normal soccer mom, but been through horrible things. So for that film, our song Objectified is going to be featured in one of the episodes, and Ken and I had opportunity to be interviewed to talk about some of these issues from a male perspective. And so that's going to be really cool. It's a tough thing, because right now, one of the key messages of social media right now is that OnlyFans empowers women, and I can't buy it, because I've seen what happens down the line.
Right.
It just isn't true. It's somebody lying to these young girls and convincing them that they're you're empowered. Record.
Yeah.
You know?
Or you're going to be a star, right?
You're going to be a star. You're going to make so much money, and there's going to be zero consequences. And right now, some young fifth wave feminist is thinking that I'm, an asshole. But for me, I have a daughter, a 22-year-old daughter, and I woke to this stuff like over 10 years ago. I realized, wait a minute, somebody imminently is going to be looking at my daughter like she's meat.
Yeah.
And it just, the switch flipped,
doubt.
and I'm like, this is not the same anymore. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, that's another thing that Ken has written a fair bit about. There's bits of it in Lynchpin Children where it ties into because you can't end up with porn without underage performers. That's just how it is.
Right.
Somebody's lying somewhere, inevitably, and has downstream costs. Our track called Objectified is currently released under the name Fight the New Drug, but we're going to re-release it under the title Objectified around the time that film comes out. Whenever it comes out, we're kind of just waiting on that.
Right on.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to keep an eye out for that show.
Yeah.
And we'll do our best to try and help spread the awareness on that as well.
Keep us in the loop. We'll
for
do
sure.
what we can.
We will.
100%. So where can we direct the traffic to, like, if they want to follow you or check out more of your stuff? Where should we tell them to go?
Probably the quickest main point to send people is to our link tree. A lot of bands are using that these days. So if you're trying to figure that out, well, it's link tree, picture that word, and then move the dot before the two E's / Revolution Engine.
Right on.
So link tree / Revolution Engine.
It'll
We
also
can,
be in the description.
Yeah,
in the show
we'll put
notes.
that in underneath here in the description to this. It was
And then
go ahead.
Sorry, I'll just finish the thought. So from there, you can find our Instagram, you can find our YouTube, Facebook. Here in the Alberta scene, Facebook's used still a lot for show promotion. I know in some scenes it's totally Instagram and nobody uses Facebook anymore. But around here, you can't promote shows without Facebook. So, we're not very active on Twitter. So if you're a Twitter person, you probably won't see that much content from us there. But our website's there. We're on all the digital streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, you name it.
Tidal.
We're on there.
Yeah, Tidal. Excellent.
Cool.
Right on. I want you gentlemen to know that it was a true pleasure and an honor to get to spend some time with you this evening. I want you both to know that this door is wide open for you. If you guys ever just want to come on, shoot the shit, or you got something to promote or talk about, hit us up. We would love to have you guys back in here.
You are now part of the herd.
Yeah, we welcome you into our Moose family.
The Moose herd.
Into the herd. Yeah, we got a pretty big family going on in the 3 years we've been doing this, so it's great. I'm happy that you guys are a part of that now.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward
Love
to it.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having us on. I know it ended up being kind of short notice to get us in, but you had a spot, and we're grateful for that.
Worked out.
And yes, we will bug you about the next single.
Good.
Please do. I'm going to ask you guys to stick around a little bit, but we will say farewell and
Farewell.
Just
see you next week.
to next week.
Okay. Thanks, guys.